God's chosen ones, you must depart the old world. Your throne awaits in the new kingdom. Divine wisdom, wake up, chosen one. This world is not your home anymore. Have you ever wondered why nothing in this world ever feels quite right? Why do you constantly feel like a stranger, even among family? Why does your soul ache with a longing that nothing earthly can satisfy? It is not depression. It is not anxiety. It is awakening. Your discomfort is not a malfunction. It is a divine signal. The system wants you labeled as lost, but God sees you as found. The truth they do not want you to realize is that you were never meant to belong here in the first place. For this world is not our permanent home. We are looking forward to a home yet to come. Hebrews 11 verse 13. The emptiness you feel when chasing worldly success, the disconnect you experience in relationships, the constant sense that there must be something more. These are not accidents. They are cosmic breadcrumbs leading you home. Look around you, the chaos, the division, the spiritual blindness. Does any of this feel like it was designed for souls like yours? Of course not, because your citizenship was never meant to be earthly. It was always heavenly. While others desperately cling to a dying system, something in you has always known better. That is not coincidence. That is divine selection. The world labeled you different, as if it were a flaw, but your difference is actually your greatest gift. Your inability to fully integrate into this broken system is not failure. It is faithfulness to your true nature. Every time you have been misunderstood, rejected, or made to feel like you do not fit in, the universe was not punishing you. It was protecting you from becoming attached to a place that was never your final destination. Your crown awaits in the new earth, a place where your spirit will finally recognize its true home, where the disconnection ends and true belonging begins. The question is not whether you are chosen. The evidence is already written in your soul's discontent with the temporary. The real question is, will you finally embrace the calling that has been pursuing you your entire life? While others remain spiritually asleep, comfortable in their temporary dwellings, you have been stirring, awakening to a greater truth. This discomfort you feel, it is not a burden to bear. It is the labor pains of your spiritual rebirth. The time for sleeping is over. The new earth awaits its rightful heirs. Are you ready to claim your inheritance? If you feel this message resonating in your spirit, type chosen in the comments. Let the world know that you recognize your true citizenship. The system knows who you are. That's why it fought you. Have you ever wondered why some people were determined to silence you from the moment you spoke your truth? Why did certain institutions seem threatened by your mere presence, even before you challenged them? Why has your journey been marked by opposition that felt deeply personal, almost as if the world recognized something in you that you had not yet fully discovered in yourself? The answer lies not in what you did, but in who you are. From the beginning, the system identified you as different, not just different, but dangerous. In school, they labeled your questions as disruption. In workplaces, they called your integrity inconvenient. Even in families, your spiritual sensitivity was often dismissed as oversensitivity. But what if I told you this resistance was not random? If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you, John 15 verse 19. The world does not fight what it does not fear. Think about it. Why would systems of control expend precious resources to suppress someone insignificant? They would not. The opposition you faced throughout your life was not punishment, it was recognition. The light you carry threatens the darkness they have carefully maintained. Your authentic voice jeopardizes the false narratives they have meticulously constructed. Your spiritual discernment endangers the deceptions they have normalized. They were not fighting you, they were fighting what you carry, divine purpose. Remember David before he faced Goliath. The system, represented by King Saul and even David's own brothers, tried to convince him he was not qualified, not ready, not chosen. Why? Because something in them recognized what David himself had not yet fully embraced, that God had already anointed him for kingship. The system always knows God's chosen before they fully know themselves. Look back at your life. Notice how the resistance often came before your rebellion. The system did not reject you because you rejected it first. It recognized the threat of your genuine spirit before you even understood your own power. This was not coincidence, it was spiritual warfare. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6 verse 12. The education system that tried to standardize your unique thinking, the religious institutions that made you feel unworthy for your questions, the social circles that subtly excluded you, the family members who could not understand your spiritual sensitivity. They were not simply being difficult, they were responding to the light you naturally emit. Have you noticed how some people seem uncomfortable in your presence, even when you have said nothing challenging? That is because authentic spirits disrupt false environments by their mere existence. When Jesus entered the temple, he had not yet overturned a single table when the money changers grew uneasy. His presence alone was disruption enough, because truth naturally threatens falsehood without saying a word. This is why you have often felt like you were fighting battles you did not choose. You were, but not because you were wrong, because you were right. Not because you were weak, because you were strong. Not because you were lost, because you were found. The system does not persecute the compliant. It does not fear the followers. It trembles before the authentic, those who carry divine purpose that cannot be controlled, manipulated, or diminished. Can you now see your life's struggles in this new light? Can you recognize that the opposition was not evidence of your failure, but confirmation of your calling? The same system that fought against you was inadvertently affirming your identity all along. Every time they tried to silence you, they were acknowledging the power of your voice. Every time they attempted to isolate you, they were confirming your influence. Every rejection was actually recognition of the divine purpose you carry. You do not belong in their system because you were never meant to fit there. You belong to a kingdom that operates by entirely different principles. So, when I tell you it is time to leave, I am not telling you to abandon your post. I am inviting you to step fully into your true identity, to claim the crown that has been waiting for you while you have been wrestling in a foreign land. The system knows exactly who you are. That is why it fought you so hard. The question is, do you finally know who you are too? You were hidden for a season, not forgotten. When was the last time you felt truly seen, not just acknowledged, but deeply understood for who you really are? For too many of God's chosen, that question brings nothing but pain, the isolation, the rejection, the countless nights wondering if you have been abandoned altogether. Listen closely. That season of silence was not your punishment, it was your preparation. For in the day of trouble, he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent and set me high upon a rock. Psalm 27 verse 5. Your isolation was not abandonment, it was divine protection. Your rejection was not failure, it was filtering. While others were being conditioned to conform, you were being consecrated to transform. Remember David, before he ever faced Goliath, before the crowds chanted his name, he spent years alone in the wilderness, tending sheep, fighting off predators, learning the sound of God's voice when no one else was around to distract him. Those silent years were not wasted years, they were training grounds. Think about it. Why would the enemy fight so hard to isolate someone who poses no threat? Why would the system work overtime to silence a voice that has nothing important to say. The truth is, your isolation has terrified them, because they know what happens when a chosen one emerges from their season of hiddenness. Remember Esther. Before she saved a nation, she spent 12 months in preparation, 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 with perfumes and cosmetics. The palace did not see her during that time. The people did not know her name, but God was working behind the scenes, positioning her for a moment that would change history. Your hiddenness is not a mistake, it is a strategy. The world tells you that visibility equals value, that followers equal worth, that you only matter if you are seen, recognized, celebrated. But God's economy operates differently. When a farmer plants a seed, does he dig it up every few days to check on it? Does he expose it to the harsh elements before it is ready? No, he buries it deep in the darkness. He protects it from storms. He gives it time to develop strong roots before it ever bears fruit. You were not buried, you were planted. The roots you have developed in your season of hiddenness, the character, the resilience, the intimate knowledge of God's voice, these are what will sustain you when you are finally called to stand in the spotlight. Do you think Joseph understood why he was in that prison cell? Do you think he recognized his suffering as preparation for palace leadership? Probably not. Human nature rarely sees divine strategy in real time, but make no mistake, every tear you have cried in secret, every prayer that seemed to hit the ceiling, every moment you felt forgotten while others were being celebrated, God was there, working, shaping, preparing. The system wants you to believe your isolation is punishment. The enemy wants you to interpret your hiddenness as rejection, but they are terrified of what is really happening. You are being set apart. You are being protected. You are being prepared for a moment of emergence that will shake the foundations of everything they have built. Look at your hands. Those are not the hands of someone forgotten. They are the hands of someone chosen, set apart for a divine purpose that required specialized training. The new earth cannot be built by those who found comfort in the old system. It requires souls who were uncomfortable enough to recognize the deception, resilient enough to survive the isolation, and faithful enough to trust the process when nothing made sense. Your season of hiddenness is coming to an end. The skills you developed in silence, the strength you built in solitude, the wisdom you gained through waiting, all of it was for such a time as this. Can you feel it? The shifting, the awakening, the divine positioning taking place. Your life was not derailed by rejection, it was divinely redirected for protection. Now the question remains, will you emerge from your hiddenness with bitterness for the waiting or with gratitude for the preparation? Because how you emerge will determine what you can build in the new earth that awaits those who understood their true purpose. The illusion is breaking. What you see is not real. Look around you. Really look. The news you consume, the leaders you follow, the institutions you trust. What if I told you it is all an elaborate stage play designed to keep you spiritually sedated? And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. Revelation 18 verse 2. The great deception is not just that we are being lied to, it is that we have been conditioned to love the lies, to crave them, to defend them against the very truth that could set us free. You feel it, do you not? That knowing sense that something is fundamentally wrong, not just broken, but by design. The chaos is not accidental, the confusion is not random, the division is not natural. Consider this. Why does every institution, from media to government to education, speak with one voice on matters of ultimate importance? When has uniformity ever been the hallmark of truth? When has silence ever protected the innocent? You have been taught to call it consensus. I am calling it what it is, control. The America you thought you knew is dissolving before your eyes. But what is really happening is that the veil is being lifted. The illusion is breaking down. Political chaos, where elected officials answer to hidden powers, not voters, where the right and left hands of the same body pretend to be mortal enemies while serving identical masters. Financial turmoil, where debt is sold as wealth, where printing money is called stimulus, where your labor purchases less each. Passing day, where your retirement funds rest on foundations of sand, built by the same architects who engineered every major collapse. Moral crisis, where evil is called good and good is called evil, where children are sexualized, families are destabilized, and faith is mocked, where the sacred has been replaced by the profane, and few even notice the difference. These are not random failures. They are evidence of a system designed to fail you while convincing you to blame yourself for the failure. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians 6 verse 12. The real battle is not political, it is not economic, it is not even cultural. It is spiritual, always has been. Think about it. Why would a truly benevolent system work so hard to keep you distracted? Why would it flood your senses with endless entertainment, endless outrage, endless fear? Why would it medicate your children for being children? Why would it pathologize your faith as extremism? Because a distracted soul is a controllable soul. A fearful mind is a manipulable mind. A medicated population is a compliant population. A faithless society is a hopeless society, and hopeless people never resist. But you, yes, you felt the stirring in your spirit that something is not right. That stirring is not anxiety, it is not paranoia, it is your soul's immune response to deception. It is the Holy Spirit whispering that you were made for something more than this matrix of lies. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8 verse 32. The systems of Babylon are crumbling. Look at your screens, financial systems teetering on collapse, nations rattling sabers, morality inverted, truth itself under attack. These are not signs of a healthy society entering a temporary rough patch. These are the death throes of a corrupt system that can no longer sustain its own weight of lies. What if everything falling apart is actually everything falling into place? What if the chaos is not the end, but the necessary cleansing fire before a new beginning? The question is not whether Babylon is falling, it is whether you will fall with it. The new earth does not arrive through politics or social reform. It comes when God's chosen ones recognize the illusion for what it is and make the spiritual decision to step out of the matrix. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Revelation 18 verse 4. Can you feel it? The urgency in your spirit. That is not coincidence. That is not imagination. That is divine timing aligning with your awakening. The illusion is breaking, the veil is lifting, and now you face the most important question of your existence. Will you cling to a dying system that never loved you, or will you heed the call to leave Babylon behind and claim your rightful inheritance in the new earth that awaits? Your crown awaits, but first you must see the prison for what it is. You must recognize that what holds you back is not out there. It is the lies you have internalized as truth. What will you choose to see now that your eyes are opening? The separation has begun. Not everyone will go with you. Have you noticed it yet? The growing distance between you and those you once felt closest to? Conversations that now feel empty, shared interests that no longer connect, family gatherings where you suddenly feel like an outsider looking in. This is not coincidence, this is divine separation. Jesus himself warned us about this very moment in Luke 12 verses 51 to 53. Do you think I came to bring peace on earth? No, I tell you, but division. From now on, there will be 5 in one family divided against each other, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. What you are experiencing is not just ordinary relationship drift. It is spiritual awakening creating necessary division. The uncomfortable truth is that not everyone in your current circle is meant to accompany you into the new reality God is preparing. I know this hurts. The realization that beloved family members, lifelong friends, even spouses, might not share your spiritual journey cuts deeper than any physical wound. You have tried explaining what you see, what you feel, what you know to be true, but they look at you with confusion, concern, or even mockery. They think you have changed, and they are right, but not in the way they believe. You have not lost your mind, you have found your spirit. The separation occurring in your relationships is not punishment, it is protection. God is graciously creating space between you and those who would hold you back, those whose spiritual frequencies no longer align with the heightened awareness you have been granted. Think about it. When God called Abraham, did he tell him to bring everyone from his father's household? No, he called Abraham alone. When God led the Israelites out of Egypt, did everyone choose to follow? No. Many preferred familiar bondage to uncertain freedom. I understand the guilt you feel, the thought that you're abandoning loved ones by moving forward spiritually, the fear that you are being selfish by embracing your calling, the worry that by accepting your chosen status you are somehow betraying those you love. But ask yourself this: can you truly drag someone into enlightenment if they are desperately clinging to darkness? You cannot force spiritual awakening on those who refuse it. You cannot carry dead weight into the promised land. Some relationships in your life right now are spiritual anchors, not meant to destroy you, but designed to test whether you will choose comfort over calling. The loneliness you feel is not punishment, it is preparation. What looks like isolation is actually insulation, protecting the delicate process of your spiritual metamorphosis. Remember how Jesus responded when told his mother and brothers were outside waiting. "Who is my mother? And who are my brothers? Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." He was not rejecting biological family, he was redefining spiritual family, those connected by divine purpose, not merely by blood or history. The painful truth is this: some of your relationships exist only for a season, not a lifetime. Some connections were meant to nurture you through specific chapters, not your entire story. Recognizing when those relationships have served their purpose is not betrayal, it is spiritual maturity. Right now, across this nation, God's chosen ones are experiencing the same painful separation you are. Marriages strained by unequal spiritual awakening, friendships growing distant as paths diverge, family relationships becoming increasingly strained as worldviews collide. You are not alone in this separation. What feels like rejection now is actually divine selection. Every great spiritual awakening throughout history has required painful separation. Noah had to close the ark doors on a world that mocked him. Lot had to leave loved ones behind in Sodom. The disciples had to leave behind businesses, communities, and skeptical family members. This separation is not about superiority, it is about survival. It is not about abandonment, it is about advancement. God is not asking you to judge those who cannot see what you see. He is simply asking you to keep moving forward, despite their inability to understand your journey. You have been trying to explain a sunrise to those who have never opened their eyes. You have been describing colors to those who have only seen in black and white. Their confusion is not malicious, but it is limiting, and you cannot allow their limitations to become your prison. The question is not whether separation will occur, it is already happening. The real question is, will you resist it out of guilt and fear? or will you embrace it as the necessary preparation for your divine inheritance? Your crown awaits, but you cannot wear it while clinging to relationships that require you to shrink back into who you used to be. What holds you back? Is it the fear of being misunderstood, the comfort of familiar connections, the guilt of moving forward while others stay behind? Whatever it is, you must release it now. The separation has begun. The divine sorting is underway. Not everyone will go with you, and that is not just okay, it is necessary. Are you ready to embrace the divine separation that leads to your spiritual elevation? The great calling, why you must leave now. The clock is ticking, beloved. Not the clock on your wall, but the cosmic timepiece that has been counting down since before you were born. Can you feel it? That urgency in your spirit, that restlessness that keeps you awake at night. It is not anxiety, it is not old age, it is divine activation. Therefore come out from them and be separate, says the Lord. 2 Corinthians 6 verse 17. You have spent decades trying to belong in a world that was never designed to accommodate your spirit. You have bent yourself into shapes that were never meant for your soul. You have dimmed your light to make others comfortable. And for what? To fit into a system that is already crumbling? Consider Moses, comfortable in Midian, tending sheep, settled into routine. Then came the burning bush. Then came the voice, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Exodus 3 verse 10. Moses was not just leaving, he was being sent. And so are you. This is not about physical relocation. This is about spiritual emancipation. The Egypt that holds you captive is not a place on a map. It is the mindset that keeps you chained to worldly values, earthly concerns, and temporal priorities. Your family does not understand you. Your friends think you have changed. Society labels you as too religious or too extreme. Do you know why? Because Egypt never celebrates when slaves decide to walk free. The system never applauds when its captives awaken. Some of you have spent 40, 50, 60 years wandering in the wilderness of compromise, half in Egypt, half in the promised land, 1 foot in the world, 1 foot in the kingdom. And God is saying, enough. The time for middle ground is over. What are you still holding on to? Your reputation, your comfort, your sense of belonging in a world that is passing away? When Moses stood before Pharaoh, he did not negotiate for better slave conditions. He demanded full release. This is what the Lord says, let my people go, so that they may worship me. Exodus 8 verse 1. I need to be brutally honest with you right now. Many of you watching this have been called repeatedly. The burning bush moments have come and gone. The Red Seas have parted and closed. And still you hesitate. Still you compromise. Still you cling to Egypt. Ask yourself, what happens to those who heard the call to leave Egypt but chose to stay? They perished in the plagues that followed. Your spiritual sensitivity is not a burden, it is a blessing. That feeling of not belonging is not a curse, it is confirmation you were never meant to be comfortable in Egypt. You were designed for the promised land. Look at your life right now. The relationships that drain rather than fill. The activities that numb rather than awaken, the pursuits that exhaust rather than energize. These are your Egyptian taskmasters demanding bricks without straw, stealing your life force one day at a time. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? Mark 8 verse 36. The new earth is not coming, it is already here, being established brick by brick, soul by soul. But you cannot enter it while clinging to Egypt. You cannot wear your crown while bowing to Pharaoh. When Moses finally surrendered to the call, what happened? Signs and wonders, divine intervention, the impossible made possible. The same awaits you. Not prosperity gospel false promises, but genuine spiritual authority that comes when you fully align with your divine purpose. The burning bush is before you right now. This message is your Exodus moment. This is not just another spiritual video. This is your Red Sea crossing. Will you step forward, or will you step back? Will you embrace your sending, or will you cling to your slavery? Will you reach for your crown, or will you bow to your chains? The call is clear. Leave now, not tomorrow, not when it is convenient, not when everyone understands. Now. Moses did not call a committee meeting at the burning bush. He did not take a vote at the Red Sea. He moved when God said move, and those who followed him inherited promises beyond their imagination. Your promised land, your true spiritual inheritance awaits. But you must be willing to leave Egypt behind. Every idol, every compromise, every false comfort. The question is not whether you are called. The question is, will you finally answer? Type Exodus in the comments if you are ready to walk out of Egypt today. Your wilderness journey ends here. Your promised crown awaits. Your crown has been forged in fire. Look at your hands for a moment. Those are not just wrinkles you see, they are battle scars. Every line tells a story of survival. Every crease marks a victory against forces that tried to destroy you. You have been wondering why your path has been so difficult, have you not? Why, when others seem to glide through life, your journey felt like walking through fire? It was never a punishment, it was preparation. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Romans 8 verse 18. The world did not understand you. Family abandoned you. Friends betrayed you. The system rejected you. But what if I told you that every single wound was necessary? What if every tear you shed was collected like precious gems to adorn the crown being crafted specifically for you? Think about it. Gold does not become pure without intense heat. Diamonds do not form without crushing pressure. And your spirit, your divine essence, could not have been revealed without the trials that stripped away everything that was not truly you. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. Psalm 34 verse 19. That diagnosis that shook your world, the relationship that shattered your heart, the financial collapse that took everything, the loneliness that seemed endless. These were not random cruelties of an indifferent universe. They were precise divine incisions, removing everything that would have weighed you down in the coming ascension. Look around you. How many of your peers are still asleep, numbed by medication, distracted by entertainment, sedated by false comfort? Yet here you are, awake, aware, alert to the shifting of spiritual tectonic plates beneath a world that continues its slumber. Do you think that is coincidence, or could it be evidence of your selection? Your suffering has given you eyes to see what others cannot. Your isolation has given you ears to hear what others miss. Your brokenness has created cracks where divine light now pours through. That we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellence of the power may be of God and not of us. 2 Corinthians 4 verse 7. When they mocked your faith, when they dismissed your warnings, when they called you crazy for sensing what was coming, they were unknowingly confirming your calling. The system does not attack what it does not fear. The darkness does not fight what is not light. Every betrayal, another jewel in your crown. Every rejection, another purifying flame. Every tear, another drop in the river carrying you home. Your crown was not manufactured in some celestial factory. It was forged specifically, intentionally, purposefully through the very experiences that made you question if you could continue. Remember Job. Everything was stripped away: health, family, wealth, respect, standing at the edge of absolute despair. Yet it was through that furnace that his true authority was established. His latter days were greater than his former, and so it shall be with you. The fire was not sent to destroy you, it was sent to reveal you, to burn away what was never truly yours, to melt down the false identity the world tried to impose upon you, to separate the eternal from the temporary. Ask yourself, would you recognize the depth of God's comfort if you had never known profound pain? Would you understand divine restoration if you had never experienced devastating loss? Would you treasure heavenly belonging if you had never felt earthly rejection? Your crown bears engravings no other crown will ever have, marks of your unique journey, symbols of your particular victories, evidence of battles fought in dark nights when no one else was watching. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. James 1 verse 12. The same fire meant to destroy you has instead revealed your unshakable core. The pressure designed to crush you has instead crystallized your purpose. The rejection intended to break you has instead set you free from the need for worldly approval. Do you see it now? The crown awaiting you was not despite your suffering, it is because of it. So, I ask you now, chosen one, will you continue to mourn what was taken, or will you finally recognize the exchange that was made? Will you cling to what was lost, or will you reach for what has been prepared? Your time of preparation is complete. Your crown has been forged. The question now is not whether you are worthy to wear it. The question is whether you will finally accept the royal identity that has been yours all along. Are you ready to leave the ashes behind and step into the glory that awaits you? The chosen are being activated worldwide. You are not alone. Can you feel it? That strange vibration pulsing through your spirit in the quiet moments when the world falls away. That is not anxiety. That is not restlessness. That is the divine activation code being transmitted to God's chosen ones across the globe. You are not alone in this awakening. From the crowded streets of Tokyo to the remote villages of Africa, from bustling Manhattan apartments to quiet Midwestern farmhouses, the chosen are rising up simultaneously. One spirit, one purpose, one divine calling that transcends all earthly boundaries. And afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions. Joel 2 verse 28. The prophetic words written centuries ago are manifesting before our eyes. Look around you. Can you see the evidence? Elderly men and women suddenly filled with visions of a new reality. Young people rejecting the empty promises of materialism, hungering for authentic spiritual truth. This is not coincidence, it is coordination, orchestrated from beyond the veil. When was the last time you encountered another believer and felt that instant, unexplainable connection? That moment when your spirits recognized each other before words were even exchanged. That is the divine recognition system activating within you, the ability to identify fellow chosen ones by the light they carry. The enemy wants you isolated, convinced you are alone, believing you are the only one experiencing these revelations. Why? Because isolated chosen ones are easier to silence than united ones. But I am here to tell you, there are millions just like you being awakened right now. Think about it. Why else would the powers of this world be working so desperately to distract you? Why the sudden intensification of division, entertainment, and noise? They are scrambling to keep you spiritually sedated because they sense what is happening, the great awakening of God's chosen army. The signs are everywhere if you have eyes to see. Natural disasters increasing, political systems failing, economic instability growing. These are not random events, they are birth pangs. The old world system is collapsing as the new reality prepares to emerge. And you, yes, you, were placed here for this exact moment in history. That unexplainable urgency you feel, that restlessness that keeps you awake at night, that is your spirit responding to the cosmic alarm clock. Your activation was not scheduled for tomorrow or next year. It is happening right now. While others remain spiritually unconscious, you have been selected to be among the first wave, the frontline warriors whose awakening will catalyze countless others. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is your spiritual antenna, detecting frequencies others cannot yet perceive. Remember the words of Esther 4 verse 14, and who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. You are strategically positioned in your family, your community, your workplace, not by accident, but by divine appointment. Every relationship, every hardship, every triumph has been preparation for this moment of global spiritual activation. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you sense them, the other chosen ones in your city, your state, your nation? Can you feel the invisible network of light bearers being connected across continents and oceans? The army of light is not gathering physically yet, but spiritually, the formation has already begun. The sensation of not belonging in this world that has haunted you your entire life suddenly makes perfect sense. You were never meant to be fully comfortable here, because your true citizenship has always been elsewhere. Your crown awaits in the new earth, but first, your assignment here must be completed. What is that assignment? To stand firm while everything built on falsehood collapses around you. To hold the light when darkness seems overwhelming. To remember your true identity when the world tries to convince you that you are insignificant. This is not just spiritual theory, this is your actual reality. When you go to the grocery store tomorrow, when you speak with your family, when you face challenges at work, you do so as an activated warrior in God's end-time army. Every interaction becomes an opportunity for your light to impact others. The question is not whether you have been chosen. The evidence is already pulsing through your spirit. The real question is, will you fully embrace the activation that has already begun within you? The vibration you are feeling will only intensify in the coming days. The divine downloads will increase. The spiritual sensitivity will heighten. Do not fear it. It is your spiritual senses being calibrated for what lies ahead. You are not alone, chosen one. We are rising together, millions strong, preparing for the greatest spiritual transformation this world has ever witnessed. Can you feel them rising with you? No more permission, you were meant to lead. When was the last time you waited for someone to tell you it was okay to be who God already declared you to be? How many more years will you spend seeking approval from a world that was never qualified to judge you in the first place? The waiting stops today. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations, Jeremiah 1 verse 5. Those words were not just for Jeremiah, they were for you. The creator of the universe knew exactly who you were before your first breath. He appointed you, anointed you, and set you apart. Yet here you stand, still asking permission from those who do not even understand their own purpose. Think about Joseph, thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned for 13 long years. The world told him he was nothing. 13 years of darkness. 13 years where every circumstance screamed that his dreams were delusions. And then, in a single day, he went from prisoner to prime minister. Was it because Pharaoh suddenly decided to be kind? No, it was because Joseph finally stopped waiting for the world's permission to be who God had already declared him to be. Look at your life right now. The limitations, the restrictions, the constant need for validation, the hesitation before every major decision. Where did you learn that you needed someone else's approval to walk in your divine calling? That prison was not built by God, it was built by fear. How many divine assignments have you missed because you were waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Now it's your turn"? How many souls remained in darkness because the light God placed in you stayed hidden under your fear of rejection? The world is burning while you are waiting for permission to pick up the water hose. When Moses made excuses about his speaking ability, did God say, "You're right, let's wait until you feel more confident"? No, he said, "Who made your mouth?" The same God who created you for this moment is not interested in your excuses about why you cannot. Step into your calling right now. The throne was always yours. You just had to remember. The enemy knows this. That is why he has worked overtime to make you doubt yourself, to make you believe you need credentials, approval, and permission slips to do what God has already commissioned you to do. And it is working. Every morning, you wake up with divine potential coursing through your veins. Every night, you go to bed with that same potential unused, unshared, unexpressed, because you are still waiting for someone to notice your gifts. Meanwhile, your crown collects dust. Do you think Ruth asked for permission to follow Naomi to a foreign land? Did David check with a committee before facing Goliath? Did Esther conduct a survey before risking her life to save her people? No, they understood something you have forgotten. When God positions you, He has already given you permission. The new earth is not coming for those who timidly waited in line. It is coming for those who boldly stepped into their divine assignment, regardless of who approved. Look at your hands. Those are the same hands God designed to heal the sick. Look at your mouth. That is the same mouth God intended to speak life into dead situations. Look at your mind. That is the same mind God created to solve problems that have plagued humanity for generations. And you have been waiting for a permission slip? The time for permission is over. The world does not need more followers. It needs leaders. It needs you. The unfiltered, unapologetic, unlimited version of you that God designed before time began. Stop knocking on doors that God already gave you the keys to open. Stop asking to be seated at tables when you were meant to build your own. Stop seeking validation from people who are still trying to find themselves. Joseph did not transform Egypt by remaining a victim. He stepped into his authority the moment he recognized who he truly was. One day a prisoner, the next day prime minister, not because his circumstances changed, but because his perception did. The throne was always his. He just had to remember. What would happen if, starting right now, you stopped asking for permission and started giving yourself authorization to be exactly who God created you to be? What mountains would move? What lives would change? What generational curses would break? The new earth is calling for those who understand that true authority does not come from titles or positions. It comes from alignment with divine purpose. Are you ready to leave the waiting room and enter the throne room? The earth is shifting, and you are the pillar of the new. The system is collapsing before your eyes. Can you feel it? The foundations shaking, the old structures crumbling, the desperate attempts to maintain control failing day by day. This is not just change, this is transformation. This is not just a shift, this is a complete realignment of everything we have known. Behold, I will create new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind. Isaiah 65 verse 17. The new earth is not some distant fantasy. It is breaking through right now, piercing through the veil of deception that has blinded so many for so long. But understand this, it is not merely a physical place you are waiting to inhabit. It is a divine system founded on principles that the current world has rejected. Truth, justice, and unfailing light. Why do you think you have always felt like an outsider? Why have you carried that persistent sense that something fundamental was wrong with how this world operates? That discomfort was not a defect in you. It was your spirit recognizing the corruption all around you. You were given eyes to see while others remained blind. A blessing that often felt like a curse, was it not? Think about it. How many times have you watched as lies were celebrated as truth? How many times have you witnessed corruption rewarded while integrity was punished? The world system was not broken, it was designed this way, designed to keep you doubting yourself instead of questioning it. But you could not be fully programmed, could you? No matter how hard they tried to make you conform, something within you resisted. Something knew better. That resistance was not rebellion, it was remembrance. Your soul remembering its true purpose, your spirit recognizing its genuine mission. You are not just passing through this world, you are here to help build what comes next. The elect, the chosen, the pillars of a new reality. Him who overcomes, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God, Revelation 3 verse 12. But let me ask you this, how much longer will you wait to step into this calling? How much more evidence do you need that the old system is on life support? Every headline, every broken promise, every betrayal of trust by those in authority, these are not just disappointments, they are confirmation that what you have sensed all along was right. Look at your own life, the relationships that mysteriously dissolved, the career paths that inexplicably closed, the connections that suddenly severed. Were these really failures, or were they divine interventions, severing your attachments to a dying world? God was not punishing you, He was positioning you. The new earth requires architects. It demands builders who understand divine blueprints. This is not for everyone. It is for those who have been prepared through trials that others could not comprehend. Remember Job. His suffering was not random. It was preparation for restoration that would exceed everything he had lost. Your hardships have been building your capacity to carry restoration that others cannot yet imagine. But understand this clearly, pillars cannot be partially committed. Pillars cannot waver. Pillars must stand firm, regardless of the storms that rage around them. Your comfort in this dying system was never the priority. Your preparation for what comes next always was. So, I ask you now, are you ready to fully disconnect from the illusions? Are you prepared to stand as a living contradiction to everything false? Are you willing to become the very embodiment of the new earth principles, even while the old earth fights to maintain its grip? The shift does not wait for unanimous participation. The transformation does not require popular approval. This divine realignment only needs the willing few, the chosen pillars who recognize their time has come. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. Romans 8 verse 19. The earth is shifting, and you are the pillar of the new, not because you are perfect, but because you are purposed. Not because you are flawless, but because you are faithful. Not because you never stumbled, but because you always got back up. The question is not whether you are qualified. God settled that question long ago when He chose you. The only question that remains is whether you will finally embrace the full weight of your calling. The new earth is birthing right now. Will you stand as its pillar or remain tethered to what is passing away? The choice has always been yours, but the moment to decide has finally arrived. The signs are everywhere, and what comes next will shake everything that can be shaken. The final test, will you let go of the old? There comes a moment in every spiritual journey when God presents you with the ultimate test, not of your strength, not of your knowledge, but of your willingness to release what is familiar. Look at your hands right now. Really look at them. What are they still desperately clutching from the old world? What Egyptian comforts are you trying to drag into your promised land? Jesus said it plainly in Luke 9 verse 62. No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God. Let those words sink deep into your spirit. The harsh truth is that many who hear the call to leave will never reach their Canaan. not because God did not make a way, but because they could not release their attachment to what was dying. Their bodies left Egypt, but their minds remained enslaved. Is that you? The Israelites wandered for 40 years, not because the promised land was that far away, but because they could not shed their slave mentality. They kept looking back, comparing, complaining about what they left behind. At least in Egypt we had leeks and garlic, they cried, willing to trade divine purpose for familiar comforts. And God waited. He waited until an entire generation died in the wilderness, because Canaan requires a new consciousness. What if your prayers are not being answered because God is protecting your promised land from you until you are truly ready to enter it with a renewed mind? This is not just ancient history. This is your story playing out right now. Every day I speak with believers who say they want breakthrough, who claim they are ready for God's next chapter in their lives, yet they remain chained to old wounds, old relationships, old habits, old thought patterns, old church hurts, old expectations. What are you still holding on to? Is it bitterness toward those who wounded you? Financial security that has become an idol? Relationships that God has clearly marked expired? Religious traditions that have form but no power? Or perhaps it is subtler. Maybe it is your need for approval, your addiction to comfort, your fear of truly being seen. This moment right now, this very discomfort you are feeling, is your Red Sea. The waters will not part until you fully commit to the journey forward. The Israelites had to step into the Jordan before the waters parted. Joshua had to march around Jericho before the walls fell. Abraham had to leave Ur before he could become a father of nations. And you, what step of faith is God waiting for you to take? Remember what happened to Lot's wife. She heard the warning to leave. She physically began the journey, but one backward glance, one moment of divided loyalty, turned her into a pillar of salt, preserved in the very moment of her hesitation. How many of God's chosen ones have become monuments to indecision, living statues, testimonies of what could have been? The enemy does not need to defeat you. He just needs you to hesitate, to postpone, to say, tomorrow. He knows that a double-minded person is unstable in all their ways. The lukewarm will be spat out. This is not about perfection, it is about direction. Which way are you facing? What has your full attention? Moses never entered the promised land. Neither did an entire generation of Israelites who saw the miracles, who ate the manna, who followed the cloud by day and the fire by night. They died with the dream in sight, but never in their possession. Beloved, do not miss your moment. The veil between the old and new is thinner than it has ever been. God is separating the wheat from the chaff, the wise virgins from the foolish ones, those who are merely curious from those who are truly committed. The invitation to the wedding feast has been sent, but how many will make the necessary preparations? What must you surrender today? What Egyptian comfort is keeping you from your Canaan? What familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar freedom? Name it, face it, release it. Your crown awaits in the new earth. But it will never rest on a head that is still bowed to the idols of this world. Your seat at the table is reserved, but it will never be filled by someone straddling two kingdoms. The final test is not about how much you can endure, it is about how much you can release. God is not asking you to step into darkness, He is asking you to step out of it. The light has always been ahead of you, not behind you. Will you be among those who overcome, or will you join the ranks of those who almost did, who nearly made it, who came to the edge, but could not take the final leap of faith? The choice has always been yours. The promised land was never meant to be a cemetery for your dreams. It is time to bury your doubts in the wilderness and march forward with an undivided heart into your divine inheritance. You are not just leaving, you are rising to reign. What if everything you have been told about your struggles was a lie? The isolation, the rejection, the feeling that you do not belong. Society called it being left behind. God calls it being set apart. Look at your hands. These are not the hands of someone forgotten. These are the hands of royalty in waiting. Every trial that broke you was not breaking you down. It was breaking you open, revealing the sovereign within. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. 2 Timothy 4 verse 8. When they mocked your faith, when they dismissed your warnings, when they rejected your wisdom, did you ever stop to ask why they fought so hard against you? Why would they waste so much energy trying to silence someone they claimed was irrelevant? Because deep down, they recognized what you are only beginning to see: your authority. This is not about escaping a sinking ship. This is about ascending to your throne. The very struggles that felt like exile were actually your royal training. While others were being conditioned for compliance, you were being prepared for coronation. Think about David. Before he was king, he was a fugitive, hiding in caves, running for his life. Was he being cast out? No, he was being prepared to rule with compassion, wisdom, and strength. Strength that could only come through suffering. How much longer will you interpret God's promotion as the world's rejection? How much longer will you apologize for the very power they fear? The shaking you feel around you, institutions crumbling, alliances shifting, certainties dissolving, is not the end, it is the beginning. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 28 promises a kingdom that cannot be shaken. While everything built on sand collapses, you are being positioned on the rock. Every tear you have shed, every night you spent feeling alone, every moment you wondered, why me? It was all royal preparation. The cosmic irony is stunning. While you were feeling abandoned, you were actually being anointed. This is not just spiritual poetry. This is your reality. The very things that made you feel like an outcast in this temporary world are the exact qualities that qualify you for authority in the eternal one. Your wilderness was not your punishment, it was your coronation procession. So, stand up straight, lift your chin, square your shoulders. You are not being cast out, you are being called up. The crown awaits, not as a distant hope, but as your imminent reality. The question is not whether you will reign. The question is, are you ready to leave behind your beggar's identity and embrace your royal calling? The new earth is not just your future home, it is your kingdom. Your throne awaits, chosen one. Will you finally rise to claim it? A divine calling, your crown awaits, beloved ones. As we reach the end of our time together, let me remind you of the sacred truth we have uncovered. You were never meant to fit into this fallen world. The discomfort you felt, the sense of being different, the rejection you endured, these were not punishments, they were preparations. Remember this, your struggle to belong was not a flaw in your design, but confirmation of your divine purpose. You were crafted for a higher kingdom, fashioned for royal service, created to bear a crown in the new earth that awaits. The opposition you have faced was not meant to defeat you, but to develop you. Like gold refined in fire, every trial has been purifying you for your coronation. Every tear has been collected, every prayer has been heard, and every moment of faithfulness has been recorded in heaven. You are not walking this path alone. The God who called you is the same God who equips you, who strengthens you, who goes before you and behind you. And beyond the veil of heaven, a great cloud of witnesses cheers you onward. Here on earth, countless others just like you are awakening to their true identity and divine purpose. I ask you this, what would change if you began living today, not as a rejected outsider, but as royalty in training? How would you carry yourself if you truly believed a crown awaits you? Let us pray together. Heavenly Father, I come before you now on behalf of every chosen one watching this message. Lord, you see their hearts. You know their struggles. You understand the weight they have carried, feeling out of place in a world that was not designed for their spirit. I ask you now to wrap your loving arms around them. Remind them of who they truly are, not defined by this world's rejection, but by your royal selection. Where doubt has clouded their vision, bring clarity. Where rejection has wounded their hearts, bring healing. Where fear has paralyzed their steps, bring supernatural courage. Father, we declare that no weapon formed against your chosen ones shall prosper. No opposition will derail their destiny. No darkness will extinguish their light. Strengthen them for the journey ahead. Give them divine connections with others who share their calling. Let them sense your presence so powerfully that the opinions of others fade into insignificance. Lord, as they prepare to receive their crown in the new earth, equip them to fulfill their purpose in this one. Use them as beacons of your kingdom, as ambassadors of heaven, as carriers of your glory in a world desperate for authentic light. We thank you that they are sealed, they are chosen, they are beloved, and they are never, ever alone. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.